Namaskar. Good evening. Swami Atmagyanji is out of town, so I shall be studying the Gospel with you this evening. Let us begin with the prayer. Om Tava Kathamritam Tapta Jeevanam Kavibiriditam Kalmashapaham Sravanamangalam Srimadatam Bhuvigananti te bhurita jana. Om. Your words are like nectar, bringing life to scorched souls. They are praised by poets and remove all sin. They are auspicious to hear, wonderful and exalted. Those who spread these words throughout the world are truly giving souls. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. In the English Gospel, the page is 311, November 26, 1883, and in the Bengali edition, the page is 290 and 296. 296. It's a new chapter. Sri Ramakrishna Sindhuriya Party Brahmo Samaj कमलकुटी दे और श्रीयुक्त जयगोपाल सीनियर बॉडीते आगमन प्रथम परिच्छेद. It was the day of the annual festival of the Sindhuriya Party Brahmo Samaj. The ceremony was to be performed in Manilal Malik's house. The worship hall was beautifully decorated with flowers, wreaths, and evergreens, and many devotees were assembled, eagerly awaiting the worship. Their enthusiasm had been greatly heightened by the news that Sri Ramakrishna was going to grace the occasion with his presence. Keshav, Vijay, Shivanath, and other leaders of the Brahmo Samaj held him in high respect. His God-intoxicated state of mind, his intense love of spiritual life, his burning faith, his intimate communion with God, and his respect for women, whom he regarded as veritable manifestations of the Divine Mother, together with the unsullied purity of his character, his complete renunciation of worldly talk, his love and respect for all religious faiths, and his eagerness to meet devotees of all creeds attracted the members of the Brahmo Samaj to him. Devotees came that day from far off places to join the festival, for it would give them a chance to get a glimpse of the Master and listen to his inspiring talk. In the Gospel, we often come across the instruction by Sri Ramakrishna that you should give up attachment to woman and gold, Kamani Kanchana, by which he meant lust and greed. For someone unfamiliar with this Indian terminology, Kavani Kanchana, it is possible to misunderstand that Sri Ramakrishna did not like women. So that was not the case at all. He regarded all women as the veritable manifestation of the Divine Mother. Respect for women whom he regarded as veritable manifestations of the Divine Mother. He even worshipped Sri Sarda Devi, seeing the Divine Mother in her. Not only that, on a couple of occasions when he saw a prostitute, there was a prostitute, Ramani by the name, she was walking along the street, and when Sri Ramakrishna saw her, he saw the Divine Mother in her. A person with impure eyes sees a woman with some idea, one idea, but with a person who sees God in all and everything, sees the Divine Mother in all women. And he said, "Oh, Divine Mother, you have chosen to come in this form." So that was his attitude towards women. That is in our scriptures, ancient scriptures. In the Chandi, Devi Mahatmyam, in the 11th chapter, there is a shloka, verse number 6, where this has been said. There it says, the Markandeya Rishi says, Striya samasta sakala jagatsu tvayekaya purita namamba etat kate stutishtavya para paroktihi vidya samasta udevi bhedah Striya samasta sakala jagatsu. Vidya samasta, all the Dashamaha Vidyas, 10 aspects of the Divine Mother. And all women in the world, whole world, Sakala Jagatsu Striyaha. Tvayekaya Puritam Amba. You are yourself manifesting in those. O Divine Mother, how can I even begin to describe your glories? That many of you who chant the Chandi, the hymns in the Chandi, know that verse. Similarly, in other scriptures, the Manusmriti also it is said, Yatra naryastu pujyante ramante tatra devata yatra etastu na pujyante nishpala sapala kriya. Where women are worshipped, respected, treated well, any society, any family, any organization, any country, where women are well treated, there the gods dance with joy. Ramante tatra devata. Everybody will be happy. There will be prosperity, peace, and joy. And gods will dance with joy, it says. Ramante tatra devata. Yatre tasu na pujyante. That place where women are not respected, ill treated, that society, that family, that organization, that country, where women are not treated well, with respect. Nishpala sapala kriya. Nothing will succeed. There will be only misery. That we know by looking around in the world today. So that's how Sri Ramakrishna regarded all men as the veritable manifestations of the Divine Mother. Sri Ramakrishna arrived at the house before the worship, Mani Malik's house, before the worship began, and became engaged in conversation with Vijay Krishna Goswami and the other devotees. The lamps were lighted and the divine service was about to begin. The master asked if Shivanath would come to the festival. A Brahmo devotee said that he had other important things to do and was not coming. Shivanath was Sri Ramakrishna liked him very much, and he had said that he would come, but he was not going to come. Where was it? The house If the master asked if Shivanath would come to the festival, a Brahmo devotee said that he had other important things to do and was not coming. More important than seeing Sri Ramakrishna. Master, I feel very happy when I see Shivanath. He always seems to be absorbed in the bliss of bhakti. Further, a man who is respected by so many surely possesses some divine power. But he has one great defect. He does not keep his word. Once he said to me that he would come to Dakshineshwar, but he neither came nor sent me word. That is not good. It is said that truthfulness alone constitutes the spiritual discipline of the Kali Yuga. If a man clings tenaciously to truth, he ultimately realizes God. Without this regard for truth, one gradually loses everything. Sri Ramakrishna often emphasized the importance of truthfulness. Truthfulness includes keeping one's word. If I say that I do something, I must do it. Otherwise, I should not promise. So that is something he very strongly disapproved, not keeping one's word. Same thing is said about Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar. When Sri Ramakrishna went and met with Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar, during that conversation, Ishwar Chandra Vidyasagar said that he would go and visit Sri Ramakrishna in Dakshineshwar, but he did not do it. Sri Ramakrishna mentioned that one. Truthfulness is the austerity, is the tapasya for the Kali Yuga. By observing truthfulness alone, one can reach God. That was his, they emphasized that very much, very often. If a man tenaciously clings to truth, he ultimately realizes God. Without this regard for truth, one gradually loses everything. If by chance I say that I will go to the pine grove, I must go there even if there is no further need of it, lest I should lose my attachment to truth. I always, under all circumstances, used to scrupulously follow truthfulness. After my vision of the Divine Mother, I prayed to her, taking a flower in my hands. Mother, here is thy knowledge and here is thy ignorance. Take them both and give me only knowledge, give me only pure love. Here is thy holiness and here is thy unholiness. Take them both, Mother, and give me pure love. Here is thy good and here is thy evil. Take them both, Mother, and give me pure love. Here is thy righteousness and here is thy unrighteousness. Take them both, Mother, and give me pure love. I mentioned all these, but I could not say, Mother, here is thy truth and here is thy falsehood. Take them both. I gave up everything at her feet, but could not bring myself to give up truth. That means she gave up all dualities, dharma, knowledge, ignorance, good and bad, rose above all those things. This is what Sri Ramakrishna, this is what Sri Krishna says in the Gita, final instruction at the end of this 18th chapter, end of his teachings. Sarvadharman parityaja, giving up all dharma, everything. That's a final instruction. Then before that, we have to follow dharma. Dharma is like the second thorn, which is used to remove the adharma in us, the tamasic tendencies in us. They are to be removed by following the virtuous lifestyle, dharma. Then at the very end, you transcend both dharma and adharma. That is the very last step. I gave up everything at her feet, but could not bring myself to give up truth. Soon the service began according to the rules of the Brahmo Samaj. The preacher was seated on the dais. After the opening prayer, he recited holy texts of the Vedas and was joined by the congregation in the invocation of the Supreme Brahman. They chanted in chorus, Brahman is truth, knowledge, and infinity. It shines as bliss and immortality. Brahman is peace, blessedness, one without a second. It is pure and unstained by sin. The minds of the devotees were stilled and they closed their eyes in meditation. Vedic hymns they used to chant in their prayer meetings. Brahman is truth, knowledge, and infinity. Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma from the Taittiriya Upanishad and other Upanishads. The master went into deep samadhi. He sat there transfixed and speechless. After some time, he opened his eyes, looked around, and suddenly stood up with the words Brahma, Brahma on his lips. Soon, devotional music began, accompanied by drums and cymbals. In a state of divine fervor, the master began to dance with the devotees. Vijay and the other Brahmos danced around him. The guests and the devotees were enchanted. Many of them drank the sweet bliss of God's name and forgot the world. The happiness of the material world appeared bitter to them, at least for the time being. Bhajanananda is far more blissful than Vishayananda, the pleasure that comes from sense objects, sense organ, sense object contact. That is nothing compared to the bliss, the joy of devotion, chanting God's name. That brings enormous, incomparable bliss to the devotees. You can see this in the life of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his disciples. They would get lost in chanting the name of Sri Hari. After the kirtan, all sat around the master, eager to hear their words. Master, it is difficult to lead the life of a householder in a spirit of detachment. It is difficult to lead the life of a householder in a spirit of detachment. Once Pratap said to me, Sir, we follow the example of King Janaka. He led the life of a householder in a detached spirit. We shall follow him. Pratap Chandra Mazumdar, a celebrated leader of the Brahmo Samaj. Once Pratap said to me, So we follow the example of King Janaka. He led the life of a householder in a detached spirit. We shall follow him. Not only householder, he was the king. The whole kingdom he had to administer in a spirit of total detachment. I said to him, Can one be like King Janaka by merely wishing it? How many austerities he practiced in order to acquire the divine knowledge. In order to acquire divine knowledge, he practiced the most intense form of asceticism for many years and only then returned to the life of the world. Simply it will not come. If we say, I'll be like Janaka, I will have everything, job and family, money and property, and I will be detached, it will not work, not so easy. Intense austerities and inward renunciation, detachment are necessary. Is there then no hope for householders? Certainly there is. They must practice spiritual discipline in solitude for some days. Here, in this paragraph, he emphasizes the importance of prayer in solitude, which does many times. Is there then no hope for householders? Certainly there is. They must practice spiritual discipline in solitude for some days. Thus, they will acquire knowledge and devotion. then it will not hurt them to lead the life of the world. But when you practice discipline and solitude, keep yourself entirely away from your family. Ye must not allow your wife, son, daughter, mother, father, sister, brother, friends, or relatives near you. While thus practicing discipline in solitude, you should think, I have no one else in the world. God is all may all. You must also pray to Him with tears in your eyes for knowledge and devotion. When you go for retreat, we should not carry all those attachments and accoutrements we all normally carry. Hmm. Some years ago, I used to do a retreat in Ganges, 3-day retreats. People used to bring their laptops, and during tea break, they will do some work, send messages, receive messages. Those days, there was no cell phone that much. Then they are not retreating from anything. They are carrying the whole world, whatever activity, concerns, job. That is part of life now. So solitude means no connection with anybody else. If you ask me how long you should live in solitude away from your family, I should say that it would be good for you if you could spend even one day in such manner. 3 days at a time are still better. One day, 3 days at a time are still better. One may live in solitude for 12 days, a month, 3 months, or a year, according to one's convenience and ability. One has not much to fear if one leads the life of a householder after attaining knowledge and devotion. Prayer in solitude is very important for all seekers, even for sannyasis. Swami Virajanandaji Maharaj, when he was the president of the order, sometimes he would go away from Belurmat to either Shamalatal or Mayavati. For quite some time, he would spend the time there quietly in meditation, contemplation, then he would come back. If you break a jackfruit after rubbing your hands with oil, then its sticky milk will not smear your hands. While playing the game of hide and seek, you are safe if you but once touch the granny. Be turned into gold. Be turned into gold by touching the philosopher's stone. After that, you may remain buried underground 1,000 years. When you are taken out, you will still be gold. If you break a jackfruit after rubbing your hands with oil, then its sticky milk will not smear your hands. You remove the sense feeling of non-attachment. Then, if you're non-attachment, you can have anything. Whole kingdom a person can have if one is not attached. If there is attachment, even a small property will be a big burden. So that's how Janaka could rule a whole kingdom because he was inwardly unattached to anything. The mind is like milk. If you keep the mind in the world, which is like water, then milk and water will get mixed. That is why people keep milk in a quiet place and let it set into curd and then churn butter from it. Likewise, through spiritual discipline practiced in solitude, churn the butter of knowledge and devotion from the milk of the mind. Then that butter can easily be kept in the water of the world. It will not get mixed with the world. The mind will float detached on the water of the world. The mind is pure, detached, then we can be anywhere, living in the midst of a crowd, have a lot of property, but they will not affect us. Elsewhere, he said, he gave the example of a sapling on the roadside, which has to be protected by putting a fence around it. because it's a tender sapling. If there is no fence, cattle will come and gobble it up in no time. But when the sapling grows into a big tree, then the fence is no longer necessary. Even if an elephant is tied to the tree, nothing will happen to the tree. So, in the beginning of spiritual life, we should practice prayer in solitude. When the mind becomes totally detached, and then we can live anywhere. In the midst of a crowd, also a yogi can practice meditation. Nothing bothers him. But those who are not at that stage, you have to practice solitude. Casting his benign glance on Vijay, no, Vijay had just returned from Gaya, where he had spent a long time in solitude and holy company. He had put on the ochre robe of a monk and was in an exalted state of mind, always indrawn. He was sitting before the master with his head bent down, as if absorbed in some deep thought. Casting his benign glance on Vijay, the master said, Vijay, have you found your room? Let me tell you a parable. One of them, no, let me tell you a parable. Once two holy men, in the course of their wanderings, entered a city. One of them, with wandering eyes and mouth agape, was looking at the marketplace, the stalls, and the buildings when he met his companion. The latter said, You seem to be filled with wonder at the city. Where is your baggage? He replied, First of all, I found a room. I put my things in it, locked the door, and felt totally relieved. Now I am going about the city enjoying all the fun. So I'm asking you, Vijay, if you have found your room, to M and the others. You see, the spring in Vijay's heart has been covered all these days. Now it is open. To Vijay, well, Shivanath is always in trouble and turmoil. He has to write for magazines and perform many other duties. Worldly duties bring much worry and anxiety along with them. Sri Ramakrishna didn't want the young disciples to get a job and work. When Swami Niranjan got a job, he was very much disturbed. Later on, when he was told that he got a job to support his mother, then he said, so, worldly duties bring much worry and anxiety along with them. It is narrated in the Bhagavatam that the Avadhuta had 24 gurus. One of them was a kite. In a certain place, the fishermen were catching fish. A kite swooped down and snatched a fish. At the sight of the fish, about 1,000 crows chased the kite and made a great noise cawing, with their cawing. Whichever way the kite flew with the fish, the crows followed it. The kite flew to the south, and the crows followed it there. The kite flew to the north, and still the crows followed after it. The kite went to east and west, but with the same result. As the kite began to fly about in confusion, lo, the fish dropped from its mouth. The crows at once let the kite alone and flew after the fish. Thus relieved, thus relieved of its worries, the kite sat on the branch of a tree and thought, that wretched fish was the root of all my troubles. I have now got rid of it, and therefore I am at peace. Fish means all our desires for worldly enjoyment, as long as we have them, there is no peace. So much work has to be done to earn money, to buy property, to fulfill our desires. family, children, job, all that struggle, they have to be done because desires are there. If there is no desire for anything, a person is free. No anxiety, no worry. All work becomes necessary because of desire, and desire arises because of ignorance. This is a cycle. Ajnana, and then spriha, that means desire, and then karma leads to karma. You get stuck in this cycle. The solution is to get self knowledge or pure devotion, then you exit from this loop, then you get permanent peace. The Avadhuta learned this lesson from the kite, that as long as a man has the fish, that is, worldly desires, he must perform actions and consequently suffer from worry, anxiety, and restlessness. No sooner does he renounce these desires than his activities fall away and he enjoys peace, peace of soul. Avadhuta, the story comes in the Bhagavatam. He had so many 24 teachers. All of them were part of nature. The tree, for example, if a person is perceptive, observant, he can draw lessons from looking around. And that's what Avadhuta did. He looked at a tree and he thought, oh, this tree is standing there day and night in all seasons, winter in snow and summer and sunlight and rain and wind, giving its fruits and other products and shade without complaining. So he learned the lesson of forbearance. Regardless of circumstances, favorable or unfavorable, a person has to remain calm, forbear, and continue his work. Titiksha, Sahishnuta or Titiksha. Tarorapi Sahishnuta, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says. Like that, he got lessons from nature. We all look at the tree, but we don't get any message. So, if one is observant, he can learn all these things from nature. Avadhuta had 24 such teachers. But work without any selfish motive is good. It does not create any worry, but it is very difficult to be totally unselfish. We may think that our work is selfless, but selfishness comes unknown to us from no one knows where. But if a man has already undergone great spiritual discipline, then as a result of it, he may be able to do work without any selfish motive. After the vision of God, a man can easily do unselfish work. In most cases, action drops away after the attainment of God. Only a few, like Narada, work to bring light to mankind. Elsewhere, he said, when either self knowledge dawns, person realizes he is not the body mind, he is the Atman, experiences it. Or when a person gets pure devotion, then all actions will drop away by themselves. He does not have to give them up. Sri Ramakrishna said, that's the very first thing that M heard on his very first visit to Sri Ramakrishna. In You can see on the first page of the Gospel, it's very interesting that that's the first thing that Sri M heard from Sri Ramakrishna, page 77. M went to March 1882. M went to see Sri Ramakrishna with his relative Siddhu. And when they entered Sri Ramakrishna's room, M heard Sri Ramakrishna was saying this thing. He was saying, when hearing the name of Hari or Rama once, you shed tears and your hair stands on end. And then you may know for certain that you do not have to perform such devotions as the Sandhya or any more. Then only will you have a right to renounce rituals, or rather, rituals will drop away by themselves. Then it will be enough if you repeat only the name of Rama or Hari. So much devotion must well up in the heart of a devotee just upon hearing the name of God once. If that degree of devotion, pure devotion has come, then for such a person there is no work to be done, no obligatory duties. This is what we studied in the Gita also. In chapter 3, in sloka number 17, Sri Krishna says exactly the same thing what Sri Ramakrishna said here. 317, he says, Jastu Atmaritri Vasyat, Atmatriptascha Manavaha, Atmanyeva cha Santushtaha, Tasya Karyam na Vidyate. Tasya Karyam na Vidyate. For such a person, no work, no obligatory duties, whether does, there is nothing that he gains by doing something, there is nothing that he loses by not doing anything. It does not depend upon anybody for anything. Such a state of realization that I am the Atman, self knowledge comes, or when pure devotion comes. Devotion, when a person hears the name of God once, his hair must stand on end. Tears of devotion must flow from his ears, and and the voice must choke. Then the person has pure devotion. Then there is no duty. Sri Ramakrishna was reached that stage when he was working as a priest, paid priest in the Kali temple. A stage came when he could not do the worship. He could not pluck flowers from the plant for worship, could not cut fruits. He was always absorbed in God consciousness. If you see God in all and everything all the time, then whatever can be done. At that time, work ceases. Tasya karyam na vidyate. Until then, we have to do our duties. Everybody has duties. But work without any selfish motive is good. It does not create any worry, but it is very difficult to be totally unselfish. We may think that our work is selfless, but selflessness comes unknown to us. Selfishness comes unknown to us from no one knows where. But if a man has already undergone great spiritual discipline, then as a result of it, he may be able to do work without any selfish motive. If a man has already undergone great spiritual discipline, then as a result of it, he may be able to do work without any selfish motive. After the vision of God, a man can easily do unselfish work. In most cases, action drops away after the attainment of God. Only a few, like Narada, work to bring light to mankind. Swamiji was like that. Swami Vivekananda. So much hard work he did day and night when he was here in this country and in India. For what? He didn't have any selfish motive, nothing for himself, only to serve other people, other beings. His mission was to remind every soul, every being, that he is inherently divine. So for that cause, he worked very hard. And no, there was no selfishness, trace of selfishness in his work at all. So that is unselfishness. And that's why he said, Swamiji said in his Karma Yoga lectures, there he said, unselfishness is God. A very significant sentence, only 3 words. This on page 87 of the Swamiji's book, Karma Yoga book. Your Swamiji said, unselfishness is God. If you become totally unselfish, then the I will go away, only he remains. As long as the I remains, I'm the doer, I'm the worker, I must benefit, this is mine, mamatva is there, then we are selfish, and that is an obstruction, selfishness. Total unselfishness is end. Unselfishness is God. This is what Sri Ramakrishna is saying here. Only a few like Narada work to bring light to mankind. Devadutta accepted a bee as another teacher. Bees accumulate their honey by days of hard labor, but they cannot enjoy their honey. For a man soon breaks the honeycomb, and takes it away. Devadutta learned this lesson from the bees that one should not lay things up. Sadhus should depend on Sadhus should depend 100% on God. They must not gather for the morrow. But this does not apply to the householder. He must bring up his family. Therefore, it is necessary for him to provide. Birds and monks do not hoard, yet birds also hoard after their chicks are hatched. They collect food in their beaks for their young ones. No hoarding, no concern about from where the next meal comes. Total dependence on God. That should be the ideal for a monk. Kartala Bhiksha, Tartala Vasa, Shankaracharya says. Receive only, accept only that much food that you can hold in one hand like this. Once, no refill. Wait it, wash your hands, Tarutala Vasaha. Sit down under a tree, meditate, and at night sleep under the tree. Total unselfishness, non attachment, no hoarding. Total aparigraha. Let me tell you one thing. Let me tell you one thing, Vijay. Don't trust a sadhu if he keeps bag and baggage with him and a bundle of clothes with many knots. I've seen such sadhus under the banyan tree in the Panchavati. Two or three of them were seated there. One was picking over lentils, some were sewing their clothes, and all were gossiping about a feast they had enjoyed in a rich man's house. They said among themselves that rich man spent 100,000 rupees on the feast and fed the sadhus sumptuously with cake, sweets, and many such delicious things. The sadhus, they, with many knots on their clothes, that means they try not sure. One has some rice, another has some dal, another has some change, small change that people even carry them. No, they are attached to them. There is no detachment. That is one kind of sadhus. And Vijay said, "It is true, sir. I've seen such sadhus at Gaya. They are called Lotawala sadhus of Gaya. Lota means a water pot or tiffin carrier, something which they carry to get bhiksha. They stand in line. The Kali Kamliwala Trust has places where they give free food to sadhus, anybody who stands in line, and they carry their chapati and four chapatis and dal. A man pours in the window, and that's how they eat. So attachment is there, desire is there. It is true, sir. I have seen such sadhus at Gaya. They are called the Lotawala sadhus of Gaya. Master to Vijay. When love of God is awakened, work drops away of itself. Tasya karyam navidyate. If God makes some men work, let them work. It is now time for you to give up everything. He's giving advice to Vijay. It's time for you to give up everything. Renounce all and say, O mind, may you and I alone behold thee, mother, letting no one else intrude. Saying this, Sri Ramakrishna began to sing in his soul enthralling voice. There is a song here. Cherish my precious mother Shama tenderly within, O mind. May you and I alone behold her, letting no one else intrude. One mind in solitude enjoy her. O mind in solitude enjoy her, keeping the passions all outside. Take but the tongue, that now and again it may cry out, O mother, mother. Suffer no breath of base desire to enter and approach us there, but bid true knowledge stand on guard, alert and watchful evermore. The master used to the master said to Vijay, surrender yourself completely to God and set aside all such things as fear and shame. Three things he said one should not have: hatred, shame, and fear. Surrender yourself completely to God and set aside all such things as fear and shame. Give up such feelings as, what will people think of me if I dance in the ecstasy of God's holy name? The saying, oh, one cannot have the vision of God as long as one has these three: shame, hatred, and fear, is very true. Shame, hatred, fear, caste, pride, secretiveness, and the like are so many bonds. Man is free when he is liberated from all these eight fetters. When bound by ties, one is Jiva, and when free from ties, one is Shiva. Prema, ecstatic love of God, is a rare thing. First of all, one acquires bhakti. Bhakti is single minded devotion to God. Like the devotion a wife feels for her husband, it is very difficult to have unalloyed devotion to God. Through such devotion, one's mind and soul merge in Him. Pure devotion. Then comes bhava, intense love. Through bhava, a man becomes speechless. His nerve currents are stilled. Kumbhaka comes by itself. It is like the case of a man whose breath and speech stop when he fires a gun. But prema, ecstatic love, is an extremely rare thing. Chaitanya had that love. When one has prema, one forgets all outer things. One forgets the world. One even forgets one's own body, which is so dear to a man. So that was the teaching. And the Sinduriya Party Festival, Brahmo Festival continues. And we shall stop here and say the closing prayer. ॐ निरञ्जनं नित्यमनन्तरूपं भक्तानुकम्पादतविग्रहं वै ईशावतारं परमेशमेड्यं तं रामकृष्णं शिरसा नमामः. ॐ. We bow our heads before Sri Ramakrishna, who is stainless, of infinite nature, whose heart melts in sympathy for his devotees, who is an embodiment of the divine and the supreme Lord, and ever worthy of our worship. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Thank you all, and Namaskar, and have a good night.